My fiance and I were on a camping trip last summer in Arkansas, casually grilling some dinner when we heard someone loudly yelling for help. I ran a few campsites over to find a man standing in a pool his own blood. Apparently, he had dropped his knife and nicked an artery in his ankle, which was spurting blood like a fountain. My fiance was not far behind me and helped get it wrapped up and elevated while I ran back for my phone to call for an ambulance, only to find out I had no cell service. I knew there was a hospital roughly 20 miles away, so I made a judgment call and loaded the man up into his truck and took off. Now is a good time to mention that blood makes me super squeamish, and I think pure adrenaline is the only thing that kept me from passing out at the wheel. I made it to hospital in 12 minutes just as he started slurring his speech and hinting at losing consciousness. I still remember the pool of blood spilling out of the door of the floor mat as they took him inside. My fiance picked me up back from the hospital and we headed back. We ended having to watch his dog and tried our best to have a normal evening. The man showed up back around 10:30 p.m. with 18 stitches. The doctor had told him if we had not been there or we had awaited for an ambulance, he would have bled out and died. Horrifying situation, but we saved a man's life. I was camping in Ohio by myself. I was on third and final night there. Woke up to peace. Walked about 10 feet from my hammock and noticed a headlamp about 80 to 100 feet from me. I watched it from about 10 minutes. I watched him stand up, sit down. I got my boots on, grabbed my hatch, and started walking to the right of my campsite. I was going to find out what he was up to. I got about 50 yards from my site and started walking towards him when I noticed another headlamp about 40 feet from me and walking around. I hit the ground and threw some leaves on me. I walked about 10 feet from where I was laying. Then he stopped, lit a cigarette, and finished his beer. He threw his can on the ground. After he got far enough that he could not hear me, I got up and started walking towards the first guy. I got close enough to him that I can hear his phone receiving messages. I moved up closer to him quietly to where I can see his face lit up from his cell phone. That's when he stood up and started walking towards my hammock. I laid there on the ground for a minute and made my way towards my side. I stopped when I started hearing my trap that I had above my hammock being trashed. Then I could see flashlights and then my big flashlight turned on and off. I heard my mess kit being thrown and them talking about how he was just there. I laid on the ground and watched my flashlight walking away until it was a small dim light. When the sun came up and I returned, my whole site was destroyed. My hammock and trap was shredded by what looked like a match. My mess kit was stopped on. They took my backpack, rain gear, and flashlight. I went to the spot where I seen the first guy and found 2 pounds, 8 empty beers can and an empty lighter. I walked to where I see the other guy and found an empty bag of powder which turned up to be meth, a mess of cigarette butts and a pile of shit with no toilet paper to be found. When I was younger, around 14 or 15 years old, my family used to camp at a state park. Every night, my friend and I would walk through the woods. We call this the ritual. This particular night, we decided to walk further into the woods than usual. We had flashlights, we like to try and navigate through the woods with them turned off. We were about half a mile from the nearest campsite when we heard soft whispering behind us. Obviously, we hit the flashlights and spun around. Did not see anything. So we kept walking and we hear it again. This time we stopped and looked around a bit before we decided to head back to our campsite. Then we see what's whispering. It's a lady crawling on the ground, whispering just random words. She was wearing dark clothes and were covered in dirt. When she sees that we notice her, she stands up and declares that she is looking for her campsite. We ended up walking her back to the campground and tried helping her find her ground. Turns out she was just super drunk high and got lost trying to find a bathroom. Her friends did not even notice she was missing, and if we did not go that far into the woods, she would have been lost all night. It was pretty creepy.